Once upon a time in the state of Tennessee, there was no set time. In fact, for more than 100 years, each town determined its own time in the state. And that was essentially an elected official walking outside and saying, well, yeah, that seems like high noon. Set the clocks. And not long after the arrival of railroads across America, it became obvious that some standard time was necessary. However, railroads were in competition with each other, so they didn't exactly cooperate. Each railroad came up with its own time. To add to the confusion, railroads sometimes changed the time zones they used. In 1874, the East Tennessee, Virginia, and Georgia Railroad ran on Nashville time. 9 years later, the same railroad ran on Louisville, Kentucky time. So finally in 1883, all the train companies came together and they said, listen, we got to come up with a unified set of time zones so we can all be on the same page. Eastern, Central, Mountain, Pacific. There we go. Everybody happy? No. There were cities across the country who said, I don't want to be told by big business how to tell time. We are not going to subscribe to this notion. One of those cities, Chattanooga, Tennessee. Fast forward to 1918, the year that Congress enacted the Standard Time Act, making precise time an official and legal concept in the United States. So now we should all be happy, right? We have centralized time zones. All of us are on the same page about it, right? Wrong. Okay, Allison's here to talk about kind of the issues when we hear about daylight saving times, what that could mean to our region specifically.
Right, so we're kind of split up, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, whole states, Eastern time zone. Alabama, whole state, Central time zone. Tennessee, we're split. So The question comes in, a what if scenario, because different states have been talking about this. They like daylight saving time. They're putting through legislation, hey, let's stay on daylight saving time year round.
Yeah.
But it can't happen unless it's done across the entire country.
Correct.
So here's our what if scenario, because you want that consistency, and this is showing what would happen if the consistency wasn't there. So let's just pretend that Tennessee stayed on daylight saving time. Notice this map. Whole completely different color on there, right? So North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Alabama, November through March would be on standard time. Tennessee on daylight saving time. So we're still on that kind of spring forward time, meaning East Tennessee, not even on the Atlantic coast, would have the most advanced time in the country. So if you were in Benton in Polk County, drove east to Murphy in North Carolina, you would actually be going backwards in time because you would be going from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. All right. Very daily commutes for people from Chattanooga down to Fort O in Georgia, an hour difference now.
Yeah, sure.
Here's the big one though.
All right.
Let's pretend you're in Chattanooga. Want to go down to Fort Payne in Alabama? 2 hours difference because Tennessee is on daylight saving time.
Alabama fell back.
Oh. They were already an hour behind us, so now they're 2 hours behind us.
So just absolute chaos unless the government just said everybody has to subscribe to the exact same notion.
Correct. So yes, individual states may set daylight saving time that we want it, but it can never happen until the federal government says so.
That's why we bring her in. Got the big brains. Yeah, at some point I think eyes were crossing when she was doing the math. Like I can't fit. But yeah, that's one of the many reasons. I know that's going to rear its head again here in a couple of weeks as we transition into springing forward. But that might give you a little bit of insight as to, well, why we're sticking with springing forward.
Yes, it is always a debate that comes up every single time. And now we have some background on it.
There you go.
So thank you, John.